A beautiful image any human would recognize immediately. It appears to be the same as it has always been, but it is different. Very different. The soil still dark, has the same smell, yet it is very different. The animals, both wild and domesticated, have also changed. Even the birds in the air and fish in the seas are different. I will tell you where it all began. A weird scientific fluke caused young scientists to access dark energy. They used it to transmit radio signals to outer space. The signals did not travel at the speed of light. Somehow every signal hit its target instantly. But the greatest shock was receiving signals in return. The first sounds were similar to those made by whales. As the scientists tried to confirm the origin of the signals, an image appeared on all their computer screens. At first, it was a pale blue dot and a dark background. Then an image slightly more clear showing Mars, Earth, and the Moon. Then another image showing just the Earth, the Moon, and the man-made satellites. The final image frightened them the most because it was the very lab in which they were working from, only from a satellite view. Before the scientists could settle themselves from the shock of this, images and information began to run rapidly on all the computer screens. One screen showing images throughout human history, another screen rapidly running through images of biology of humans and animals, another screen showing mathematical theories and different languages of the earth. Then all of a sudden, all the computer screens went black. Then, on the computer screen nearest the scientists, this phrase appeared: "Are you there?" The young scientists were very afraid. They weren't sure how to respond. They were not sure if they even should respond. They argued whether they should send information to their supervisors, to the government, maybe even directly to the public. After a short wait, one of the scientists simply replied, "We are here." That simple correspondence was the beginning of everything changing for humanity and every living creature on the earth. The instant that scientists pressed enter to send the message, state departments from every country around the world began receiving messages from the same source. Every country, great and small, all they needed was electronic correspondence, and they received a message in their language. The messages were very simple. They wanted to correspond with us, to help us join the stars, as they said. Some countries responded immediately. Others tried to verify the source. The UN Assembly debated whether or not any country would be allowed to continue corresponding. They debated what information can be shared with the unknown source. All debating ended once they began receiving technological advancements. This voice, descending from the sky, became affectionately known as Athena, after the goddess of wisdom. Athena never gave one country all they needed to know for any particular technology. They were forced to work with each other in order to perfect any technology. The information came in cycles every 3 months. If any country showed aggression towards another, it would not receive its quarterly information cycle. With the information coming from Athena, countries in deserts could pour water out of the air. The countries covered in smog could clear their air in only 1 day. Countries that needed infrastructure had the technology for cities to build themselves, and these technologies could only be perfected through collaboration. After the first 5 years of receiving these messages, the world was at peace. With the exception of small tribal and gang conflicts, no country was at war with another. After this achievement, Athena made a worldwide announcement. She wanted to reward humanity. She said we were ready to reach the stars. She gave clear instructions on how to build space stations, and then how to use that space station to build starships that were capable of FTL speed. 5 years later, multiple space stations were built, as well as multiple starships. Again, Athena made a worldwide announcement. It was almost like she could see our progress step for step. Athena claimed to have gifts for us in the asteroid belt. Now that we had FTL ships, we were free to pick them up at any time. For the first time, her messages were cryptic. She gave no clear concept what the gifts were or what they were for. She did, however, give very clear coordinates as to where each gift could be found. For the first time in human history, a fleet of starships left Earth's orbit. The mission was a complete success. They returned with orbs the size of basketballs. They were so plentiful, there was no bickering between nations. Each nation had thousands of their own orbs. Athena gave very clear instructions on how the orbs should be used. The orbs could be programmed to clean polluted water. They could remove radiation contamination from soil. The orbs could even make desert sand nutritious again. Before we knew the true purpose of these orbs, they were being planted and placed on every continent of the planet except for one. Because of a treaty with the Aborigines of Australia, no orbs were placed on that continent. For decades after this event, humanity thrived. There was no longer even a whisper of war, because there was no shortage of anything. Food was plentiful. Fresh water was plentiful. Even energy was plentiful. Everyone was so gleeful about the prosperity, we didn't notice the changes. At first, people could hear Athena's voice in their head. Then she began to compel people to do things they didn't want to do. Even the animals began to organize for a specific purpose unknown to humanity. Dairy cows no longer allowed themselves to be milked. Chickens guarded their eggs. The larger animals on the farms were defending the smaller animals. Horses, bulls, geese all collaborated with each other to defend each other. None of the scientists could ascertain the cause of these changes. Even the wild animals showed an extraordinary change in behavior. Lions, hyenas, and all the beasts that ate flesh seemed to collaborate with each other. Zebras, gazelles, and other creatures of that like seemed to willingly give over their young to the meat eaters. Observers said it seemed like a negotiated peace. Similar activities were observed in the oceans. All of these changes began happening exactly 60 years after we received the first message from Athena. On the day we celebrated that event, a large starship appeared in Earth's orbit. They sent a message to the UN Assembly requesting permission to correspond. The aliens in the ship said they had an urgent message for Earthlings. They were granted permission, and the message was ominous. They told us the energy signals coming from Earth matched those of an entity called the Queen Mother. According to them, the Queen Mother was the most dangerous creature in all the galaxy. She seduces young species with technology. She then manipulates them into planting her seeds on their planets. Once her seeds are in place, there's only a matter of time before she takes control. These aliens called themselves the Qa'id. The Qa'id explained to us that the Queen Mother was a species that our science could not categorize. Even though the entity is called Queen Mother, there's no reason to believe it has any gender. Its only physical form is that similar to a tree, but it is conscious. The Queen Mother spreads itself across the galaxy with its seeds. The glowing orbs we thought were a gift were really a curse. The benefits that Earth experienced in the past 60 years were temporary. They were a prelude before the Queen Mother emerged on our own planet. The Qa'id gave us a timeline they'd witness occur on many planets. For the first 2 centuries after contact with the Queen Mother, the planet's inhabitants experienced peace and prosperity. At the beginning of the 3rd century, small carnivorous shrubs began to appear on their planet. These shrubs go unnoticed by the planet's inhabitants because they only fed on rodents and small creatures. But as the shrubs grow stronger, they fed on larger prey. And the more flesh the plants feed on, the stronger and more connected they become. By the time each planet's inhabitants realized what was happening, it was too late. The shrubs eventually grow into large tree-like creatures, only they are conscious and sentient. The Qa'id showed evidence of this occurring on hundreds of planets. The most frightening information they shared with us is that all of these creatures were not individual beings. All of these tree-like creatures that took over planets had one consciousness. So the Queen Mother was not reproducing offspring. It was simply extending itself, making it the oldest creature in the galaxy. Humanity wanted to know, could anything be done now that the orbs had already been planted? The Qa'id reported no species had ever recovered once the orbs were in the ground. They could not even risk evacuating the creatures from these planets because the Queen Mother had some degree of control of them. Humanity learned that the Queen Mother was the greatest enemy in the galaxy. The only way to end the creature's expansion was to find its original planet. It was believed if the original creature was destroyed, the others would die as well. The Qa'id laughed when humanity declared we would save our own planet and find the Queen Mother. They said we should simply enjoy the few centuries we had left. The aliens left and said if we are still in existence in 3 centuries, they would return.